I wrote this essay on my Substack account, The Decadence Project, called Why Politicians Must Be Barred from Longevity Treatments. And I feel like this is we need to start think it's maybe a dumb article at some level, but like we need to actually, I think, start talking about policies that
Mm.
might safeguard us from the ultimate dystopian scenario
Of
of the
102-year-old
politicians,
politicians.
yeah, that live forever and rule over all of us. And this is
Oh,
like the kind of no-brainer scenario in that is depicted in like every sci-fi movie ever, right? Of the you know the ancients and the gazillionaires who
yeah,
rule
yeah.
the universe, right?
This
And like
not
everybody else who can't like.
yeah.
So Xi Jinping and Putin were caught on a hot mic, talking about this several months ago. So they're well on their way to wanting at least to live forever, and they would certainly never give up power. Donald Trump is, kind of tied into Silicon Valley. There's no way he doesn't know about what's happening with longevity therapies. It's not there
Oh,
yet, but like that,
I could
not
imagine I could imagine Donald Trump not being not being aware of the latest longevity treatments.
I could, but I couldn't because, like,
I
look
know
who
it.
is. I mean, his
The White House doctor.
his VP is JD Vance, who like is a creature of Silicon Valley. I mean, and
True. True.
Peter Thiel is right there. Elon Musk was like part of the whole thing for, I don't
True.
know. So like too close for comfort for him to not want to be living forever. And maybe it's not even this batch of politicians. Maybe it's like 20 years from now. Maybe it's 100 years from now. It's still like technically a problem. And
Yeah.
so here is like my let's just start this conversation article about this. And my proposal was that if you are in office at like a high level, the federal government level of office in America, we should just like start this. You just renounce the ability to receive any longevity treatment. You get normal healthcare, normal doctors, but you can't get the therapies when they arrive that will make you de-age. And I feel like, this isn't going to happen. No one's going to sign up for this.
You have
But I
to
wrote about this and spelled out the pros and cons. And I think it is a valuable conversation to have.
I feel like you have such a storyteller's approach to like policy ideas because you always bake in some kind of like fundamental tension. Like, instead of like problem solving, it like solves like kind of most of the problem, but then there's like a Faustian bargain involved that would require literary exposition. No, I mean we have like such an issue with gerontocracy in this country. Sorry, I gotta charge my phone in a different part of the new little mansion. Um, we there's such an issue with gerontocracy in this country, and there has to be, in the same way that there's term limits, there has to be some kind of universal acknowledgement that at a certain point your ability to relate to young healthy people, which is most people, is kind of functionally zero, right? Like we don't let kids vote or determine policy because they just, I mean, there's a lot of reasons, but part of it is that 16, 17, you don't have a lot of relationality to people who are living in the world that you're about to inhabit. And I think that when you get up into your 80s and 90s, if that's true, if you are relating well to the world around you, you're probably not a rich politician. Like, these people get really siloed over time. And I think that there needs to be, I mean, more broadly, a conversation about like, how do we motivate normal people to get into and out of politics, right? Like, we've got this extraordinarily calcified political class that is really like, people describe the Senate as like a high school lunchroom all the time, colloquially,
Yeah.
right? And I think it's because it's not dissimilar from that, in the sense that there's a bunch of people that have been siloed into this experience of being politicians for most of their lives, and have this like very arcane set of skills that are just completely unrelated to the average person's experience. And like we have the Senate and Congress to kind of balance out those two motives, but at the same time, I mean, you got Congress people that have been in their district for 20 plus years. And like, come on, man, like we can't let people, there's got to be a motivation for you to get in, do the work that you need to do, get back out, and then maybe a waiting period for you to get back in again so you can grab some perspective from the underside of the power dynamic. You know, if you spend your entire life on the overhand position of the power dynamic, you're not going to have any ability to relate to most of the people that you're actually supposed to be speaking for.
Yeah, people talk a lot about the revolving door of politics and how when someone leaves politics, they just like immediately get some like high paying job as a consultant to like Raytheon or something. And that's talked about like as a bad thing. But like, and it is a bad thing, don't get me wrong. But like real talk, that's the only incentive politicians have to leave office. It's like
Yeah, man.
we almost don't want to lose that. That's like the one thing that we have to like get people so that there's some sort of churn in politics is that they have something that's like waiting for them on the other side. And you do see a lot of these people, Nancy Pelosi and all these people, and you just kind of tell that they have nothing going for themselves as a human being outside of the
That's
glitz and
man.
glamour of being a
Yeah.
DC top politician.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, that's a major problem, aside from, like, the power thing, just, like, them as people, you see them, like, decay as people and become, like, this just kinda, like, robotic, useless thing that's just, like, stuck in a job title where they're, like, they can't disentangle who they are as a human being from, like, some job title. Slight
And
pivot,
It
but I
would
do
and
wanna
but to just to put a pin on my
mhm,
thought too is that there isn't any there's been such a lack of leadership quality in this, like, boomer and Gen X politician cohort where in any normalistic, trade situation where, like, politics is obviously a trade craft like a lot of others, like, you'd expect that the journeyman of the trade are bringing people in as apprentices and like cooking the next kind of class of politicians. But what you see is that like those two generations in particular are so dedicated to enfeebling the lower like the younger class of political operators
yeah,
because
totally.
they're so desperate to hold on to power, and it's absolutely pathetic. It's like that is kind of the primary abdication of their role that is happening is that they're not cultivating a young leadership class. They're throwing, you know, like for people like us, you know, liberal folks or dudes who lean left of center generally. It's crazy because you see these young politicians just being thrown to the wolves of popular opinion. And it's like,
Mhm.
well, what do you think they're gonna end up with? They're gonna end up with a bunch of radical populist opinions. Like, there's gotta be some stewardship of, like, the upperclassmen in this in this political system to lead these younger people into, like, what being a reasonable, politician within the framework we have actually looks like, instead of just abandoning them to get their opinions from fucking TikTok, man.
Okay, I've got one more thought here just to close out my thoughts on this on the article I wrote about this, in that, like, I I wanna emphasize that I think that the longevity movement is one of the coolest things happening in the universe right now.
Of
Just the
course.
idea that we can defeat aging, it's been with us forever, it's never gonna go away. At some point in history, we are gonna crack that code, right? And, like, we can
It's not
already
that
do it for mice at certain levels, like, it's gonna happen, and we should
Yeah,
just, like we should be stoked about that. But I do
agreed.
think that we have to solve this problem with it will cause multiple pain points in society, and the most glaring one is the politicians. Because, I mean, for example, this is the point that I made in my essay, but George Washington did one thing for the universe, which was that he stepped down from power, right?
Yeah,
And you might, you
right.
have to read the history books. It makes it
They
seem very
wanted him to
obvious that
stay.
oh, it was like it was in his nature. He didn't want power forever. He was like an
Right.
anti-king type of person.
King.
But then there's a little like, you know, read between the lines there. He was 65 years old when he stepped down the second time.
Yeah, he was Biden.
He was old. Like, what if he was 35? The whole history of the United States of America would have played out differently. It just
Yeah,
would have been a different ballgame if he were 30. He would have stuck around for a third term. He'd be like, 35, I got a long time to live. Like, what am I gonna do for the next 30 years?
yeah,
Okay, okay, guys, okay. And then it'll turn into 4 terms and then 5 terms. And then, like,
right.
again, the history of our country and then the history of democracy in general is different if he had just been younger, right?
Yeah,
And that's what the world we're going into. And right now, we have the Donald Trump problem where he doesn't ever want to leave office. people around him, especially like the Bannonites, definitely are going to make moves to make sure he doesn't leave office, whatever they can do.
Yeah.
The dude's going to die in a couple of years, and so at some level, that problem is just going to go away, unless the longevity movement is mildly successful and he starts de-aging despite his like addiction to McDonald's hamburgers, right? So
He might already be, you know, like, who
yeah,
knows? He's probably, I mean, if the White House doctor's worth any grain of salt, like, he's got the guy on NAD drips, he's got the guy
yeah.
on B12, IVs, he's got the guy on the Hitler meth, he's got him on whatever the
Yeah, maybe beneath the
some
makeup, he actually looks okay all of a sudden. Every now and then you get a glimpse of him, like, underneath the makeup, and you're like, "Ugh," but, like, maybe you're right. Maybe underneath all that the cakes of makeup, he's actually looking better.
I mean, dude.